Okay. Call to order. Declarations of conflict of interest. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Councillor Greg Rivard.
I do, your worship, under planning and heritage.
Yes, sir.
I gotta go back over the numbers here. So, number 6, McWilliams Road, number 10, Towers Road, and, well, first reading of McWilliams Road. Declared myself in conflict.
Because?
Formed a business relationship.
Okay.
With both of these developers.
And
Yes.
what were the three again?
Sorry, 6, 10, and assuming 1 for the reading. First reading.
First reading.
So noted there, Tracy? Good. Any other declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none.
610.
Councillor McTweel, are you in conflict?
I have a question for the solicitor.
On the conflicts of interest?
Yeah, conflicts.
Sure, go ahead.
Great. Mr. Solicitor, every month we are required to declare a conflict of interest. You feel that you're in a conflict of interest. What happens if you don't declare a conflict of interest and you were in a conflict of interest? What are the consequences?
It's stated in our procedural bylaws, isn't it?
Consequences for the individual, you're thinking, the person who neglected to declare the conflict?
Both.
But the consequences for the individual are, as set out in the MGA, they're potentially serious consequences. The consequences for the organization are that if a member participates in a decision in which they're in conflict, then in effect, it could taint the whole decision of council and necessitate going back through a whole process again. So there are serious consequences both for the individual and for council as the governing body of the city corporation. So it's obviously conflicts are to be scrupulously avoided if they are indeed conflicts as defined by the MGA and by common law interpretation of the MGA.
Just follow up.
Do you have someone in particular that you're looking at or thinking of?
I'm asking the solicitor.
No, just 1 second. Are you naming someone here tonight? Are you
I'm asking the
naming?
solicitor a question.
But are you naming
Can
someone?
I ask a question?
Yeah?
Solicitor
Are you
question?
naming someone?
What are you asking me a question?
I'm just trying to find out where you
I'm
object.
asking a question. So,
What's the question? You have to go through the chair and then
okay.
ask him.
So does that mean, Mr. Solicitor, that you're required to leave the room? If in fact you declare a conflict, or if you don't declare a conflict, you are in conflict and you don't leave the room, the consequences are the same?
If you're in conflict, your first obligation is to declare the conflict, okay? And your second obligation is to cease, not to participate in the discussion or the decision. And the third obligation is not to try to influence others in the room as to what decisions they should make or how they should vote. So declare, refrain from participation in discussion, and obviously refrain from voting on the matter.
Clear? Okay, let's move on. Yeah, and previously, I think before the MGA came in, Mr. Hooley, there was never a call to order in declarations of conflict of interest in the old agendas. Pre-MGA, I don't think there was.
I don't think there was a separate item on it, but it was the right.
It was the responsibility of the council. So this way, if you think you're in conflict because of your family owns property or you're in a financial position to gain something, it's right there. There's no way of saying that I didn't know that I had to declare conflict of interest.
It's much, the clarity is much higher
Okay,
than the legislation.
that's pretty clear. Oh, good.
8%, same for attitudinal bias.
Okay. Those, and Councillor Twill, you already asked twice, those staff that are online, or phone in, please mute your phone because it's interrupting or interfering with the proceedings. Okay, approval agenda. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor? Okay. So we have 3 sets of meetings. Oh, no, more than that. Regular meeting, July 12th. Special meetings open, July 5th, July 12th, July 26th, and public meeting of planning, July 27th. Mover? Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor?
I had a question.
On the minutes?
Yep.
Good. What is it?
Really would say we received an email from Mr. Forbes, manager of planning and heritage. Are those minutes referenced in the approval that we're going to be voting on here today, Mr. Forbes?
I'm not certain, but I think that they're older minutes, so they likely aren't. Yeah, they're just for some background for you folks to help on your decision. Those minutes have likely already been approved. They're put in your package this evening because you're dealing with something on that particular property, and there's some context in there that would be helpful. It's the only reason I submitted it. It's not for you to approve the minutes, it's just to show you
Adopt
that-
them.
Right, exactly.
It's adopted, it says right there, adoption of previous draft minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't say approval, adoption.
Sure, yeah.
And that does include committee meetings, like planning, economic, none of that, no. Second question, Councillor.
No, I'll be a little more specific. The email you sent out, I was confused. I'd appreciate you bringing it to council's attention, but if we vote to adopt the minutes, approve the minutes, call it whatever you want, are we approving what's in the proposed resolution was passed by council, or going to be entertained by council?
No.
No,
No,
the minutes are there to, you're going to be asked a design issue on the Sherwood Crossing development, and those minutes have been provided to show you that during the public discussion, at the public hearing for that project, there was very little discussion by the public about the design of those buildings. And because you're going to be voting later this evening about the design of those buildings, all I wanted to do was convey to you that at the public hearing, that the design of those buildings was not a contentious issue.
Right. Okay. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Duffy. All those in approval, in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, those against. Okay, so Councillor Twill against, Councillor Duran, Councillor Rivard, Yankov, Councillor McLeod, Deputy Mayor Cody, Councillor Jimmy Kidd, Councillor Duffy, and Councillor Ramsey in favor. Have to get that on the record. Okay. Business arising out of the minutes. Business? Okay. Reports of committees. First committee, the new chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage, Councillor Terry McLeod, Ward 2.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. Planning and Heritage Committee did not meet in August of this year, therefore there are no reports in the attached package. The Planning Board met on Tuesday, August the 3rd, and copies of the Planning Board reports and the minutes are included in the package. So there was the meeting minutes of August 3rd, there was the public minute meetings of July 27th, and also there's reports starting at C21 for those following this agenda. The Heritage Board met on Monday, July 26th, and copies of the Heritage Board report and minutes are included in the package. There was June 15th minutes, and again, the report started D6. The Design Review Board did not meet in July, and therefore there were no reports attached to the package. And the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, July 20th, and copies of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee reports and minutes are included in the package. Minute meetings were on July 20th. There are 10 resolutions to be put forward for Planning and Heritage. Thank you very much. I'll try to answer any questions I can. Thank you.
Well, Councillor McLeod, your August 3rd meeting, you were in meeting for how long? 3 hours?
and 45 minutes.
It's a long old meeting.
Ask
Okay.
Susan's mother.
Yes.
She was online once.
Mrs. Saroy did watch it online. Okay, do you want to go to the resolutions?
We do.
Okay.
Worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request for one minor variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback requirement from 19.7 feet to 18 feet, and one major variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback requirement from 24.6 feet to 15.2 feet, in order to permit two single-family detached dwellings on the lot at Viceroy Avenue, PID 349035, which is proposed to be subdivided into two separate parcels and be rejected, Your Worship.
Question? Questions come? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Reject.
In favor to reject?
Favor to reject.
Yeah, it's favor to reject.
Favor to
Thank you.
reject.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so I have Councillor Rivard, Councillor Yankoff, Councillor Twill, Councillor McLeod, Deputy Mayor Cody, Councillor McCabe, Councillors Duffy and Ramsey in favor. Against? The rejection. Against the right. So it's 8 to 1. And that's Councillor Lockley. Okay?
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request for 2 major variances to increase the maximum permitted floor area from 750 square feet to 2,400 square feet, and increase the maximum permitted height from 17.5 feet to 27.7 feet in order to permit a new accessory detached garage building on the north portion of the lot at 14 Athol Drive, PID 589697, be rejected, Your worship.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Cody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for bringing this forward, Councillor McLeod. Spoke to the applicant on the weekend, and there's certainly a willingness on the applicant's part to work with planning staff and the department to try and rework this application to make it kind of fit a little bit better that everyone can live with, I guess. So tonight I just asked council if I could defer this resolution until such time they
Refer
can,
back to committee.
sure, wherever it's got to go to give some time to work with staff to find maybe an appropriate solution.
Second by Councillor McCabe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's just vote. Can we vote in the deferral, or do you want to speak to the deferral? Councillor Yankoff?
Can I just make one
Yes, do you
point?
want to speak to it?
Yeah, just quickly.
Please.
I'll definitely support the deferral. However, I just point out that we have a long ways to go working with the applicant, moving from what is permitted at 750 from what he's asking for 2,400. So just making that note that there's a huge,
It's a
huge gap,
300%.
a huge gap here, but I will
For the deferral.
support the deferral. Yeah.
Councillor Duran?
No, I'm just supporting the deferral.
Okay. All those in favor of the deferral, please raise your hand. Okay, 9 to 0.
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request for a variance to extend the legal non-conforming use by eating and drinking establishment on the subject property at 35 Prince Street, PID 337089, by amending the existing development agreement in order to allow the applicant to apply for a liquor license for the eating and drinking establishment be rejected, Your worship.
Councillor Duran, do you have a question?
Yeah,
Query?
I just have a concern. I was down to the restaurant in question over the weekend, and they did a lot of improvements there, and during COVID and things like this, the restaurant is struggling. I believe that, various restaurants in Charlottetown, or most, if not all, if you're in the restaurant business, you could have a glass of wine or a beer with your supper. I can't understand why everything is rejected in this. I mean, the person that owns the business, made improvements. I just can't understand why we would do this when there's another business four doors down that just received awards, in the Lobster Fest and all this, and they serve liquor. So I just, I'm struggling why, and I'm just wondering if someone could explain the reason behind that. Thank you.
Do you want to explain it to the councillor?
I'll respond to Councilor Ron. Thank you very much, Councilor Ron, for your interest and taking the time to go see the applicant that you did that. I think we'll let this thing go a couple more minutes. I think we all found this one pulled on our heartstrings a little bit, especially when you say the COVID and the toughness of it is getting bouncing back. But at the same time, I think I guess the main reason for being where we are today is that it's a non-conforming use, and planning principles and practices that you should try and work to have that brought back into conformity, right? So by doing the liquor license, you're really going against what we really tried to do. And that is, you know, we're going to make it more non-conforming instead of trying to bring it back to conformity. Now, we were here before with this when it was a couple of years ago, and the neighborhood was quite, sent us a clear message that, you know, alcohol was not something they want to see up further into the residential area, even though it's only a block, I understand. But, you know, it soon turned that this was an R1 area and that they, you know, and they didn't want to see late night activity in that area. But saying that, I think there has been some talk of council here. I think there could be something come up here, then I'll just sit down. But that was the reason why it was rejected, was the fact that it's a non-conforming use and that we're trying to bring it back into conformity, not make it more non-conforming. That was the purpose and the reasoning for the way it went as far as planning staff were concerned. But I believe Councillor Yankoff might have something to report there. Thank you.
Councillor Yankoff, can Councillor Duffy go first?
Yeah,
Councillor Duffy?
Councillor Duffy,
yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also paid a visit down to the establishment, and I agree with Councillor Jerome. You know, there's 5 booths there, and there's what we would refer to as an island, as someone would have in a kitchen. I mean, it's very small. They're only asking for operation hours from, I believe, 10 in the morning till 8 in the evening. So, and we had one letter, I believe, talking about the rowdyism and that sort of thing in the area, and the over drinking and that. But I don't think you're going to get those from an establishment that's open, you know, 10 in the morning till 8 in the evening. I mean, it's a very small place, it's very clean, it's well managed. So I would move a deferral so that we can kind of regroup on this thing. And only one letter. Plus the fact that it's under the category of eating and drinking establishments, and he just doesn't have the drinking part. So I think we could revisit it and do better. It's a poor time to get a little inflexible, so to speak. I think it's a good case for deferral.
So you're moving a
Yes.
deferral?
Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So can we vote on the deferral?
yeah, and.
Do you want to say something, Councillor?
Lana, did you want to, it's your area, is there any?
Yeah, it's, to, you know, just to circle back with what Councilor McLeod said, it was a really difficult file, and, you know, from the public perspective, all they see is that we've turned down this business owner from being able to serve beer and wine between 11 in the morning and 8 at night. The background of it, that it began as a small little lunch area called Eddie's Lunch with a convenience store. And then from there, the next owner put in a couple of tables and chairs. And then all of a sudden, people were sitting in there. So all of a sudden, this non-conforming little grocery store with the house above it became a little eating establishment. And it just grew. And so now here we are in 2021 on the leftover of COVID, and we're saying no. But there's so much more information to that. So if there is a takeaway from this, then we do defer it. If we can come up with some compromise, I don't know what that would be, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to take it back to.
So before Eddie's Lunch, it was Black and White,
Yeah.
owned by Mrs. DeCoste.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Yeah, just to go a step further, I would think we could probably look at maybe, you know, depending on how your neighborhood, when you, I know Councillor Yankoff has offered to work back to the community and get some more feedback, and then maybe a development agreement could be reached, you know, to satisfy the neighborhood that he'll only operate during those specific hours and that he's not interested. And then that way, if it ever was sold, it would go back to the way it was again, and the neighborhood wouldn't be so upset. I think that'd be a win for everybody. I think if we get some positive comments on that. So that's something that we're looking forward to. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
You called the question of deferral?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of the deferral, please raise your hand. 9-0.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Cloud, second by Councillor Cade, that the request for a lot frontage variance from 18 meters to 17 meters at 25 Greenfield Avenue, PID 352971, in order to subdivide the existing oversized corner lot into 2 lots laid out in the east-west axis direction, to maintain the east-west lot configuration of surrounding properties, be rejected.
Councillor Rivera.
Thank you, Your Worship.
And then Councillor Duran. Yes, sir.
I read through the package and this one in particular. The 3-foot variance. It's not a big variance. It seems pretty minor. You know, I listened to the public meeting or the planning board meeting. It seemed that there was information that was shared that may not be in the full truth, or maybe you know, Mr. Ford or somebody didn't correct the person speaking, led to some confusion, if you will. Again, a 3-foot variance just seems really small, and I guess I'm asking the chair, am I missing something here that's not in the package that caused the planning board to put a recommendation to reject versus what the planning staff had recommended for, which was approval?
Thank you very much.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Councillor Bird, for your question here. Again, it was kind of, it kind of stumped all of us, how we arrived at this, but I think, you know, the fact that the variance, people had wanted to speak, and we just went through it with Viceroy. It's kind of the same neighborhood, the same people kind of got up and started speaking about traffic concerns, and we got a little overwhelmed. It was a long evening, and at the same time, there are, you know, the community is concerned about traffic, and you know, we recently put the stop sign in at the corner of the Northwood Road, and the neighbors feel that they're seeing more traffic now going up Greenfield. Instead, they're trying to get around the stop sign, and so, you know, they were strongly opposed to this application, and but at the same time, you know, we've had bigger ones approved, so it's a tight neighborhood, and they didn't want to see a lot of change, and I think that's what the board felt at the time, and when they made their vote. So you know, I'm quite open to anything here this evening. I was kind of like you, Greg. I was kind of stumped as to why that didn't pass, but you know, with these variances, the trouble with the variances is we don't have a public meeting, but each person can come in and speak, and you know, they felt pretty strong, and I think that kind of got the committee a little confused, especially just dealing with the one prior to that. So you know, I mean, the applicant does have a right to go the other way, and I think that might have had something to do with it as well. I think instead of being east-west, they can actually go northwest and come out on the side street. And so that kind of weighed into it too. Like, you know, with so much concern for the neighborhood, why don't they just go the other way and be done with it? The only trouble with that is I think the applicant of right now will want to go east-west. You know, the shed in the back of their house that's there now would almost become somewhat of a buffer if they went east-west, which is a good thing for the neighbors behind them. Where if they go north-south, then they're going to be right up to the fence of that of those neighboring houses behind them. So in some ways, this might be a better way to go. But the shared driveway was another concern. You know, the neighbors didn't feel like they wanted to see a big 20-foot patch of asphalt going up Queensfield. So that was another part of the equation to why the board made the decision to go the way they did. The neighborhood did not like to see that shared driveway. And there might be some other concerns that some of the other members here might want to share as well, but I think that was how the committee came up with what they did on that particular resolution. Thank you.
Supplementary question, Councillor?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Councillor Drummond and Councillor McCabe.
Thank you very much, Councillor McLeod. Great explanation, how you can get overwhelmed when all this information is coming at you. As we get our packages and we go through them, you know, you start to wonder what is right, what is wrong. You know, 1 meter variance doesn't seem like a big deal. And then when we say a shared driveway, you know, we talk about, you know, this big monstrosity of a driveway. It's going to be like a driveway and a half. It's not going to be big. But when you're at the meetings and all these information comes out, it's hard to deal with. But just to clarify, this is not an undersized lot.
No.
So, you know, they have an as of right to subdivide it, but they want to do the right thing and to keep with the essence of the street. They want to build it, they want a shared driveway. You know, I dealt with the city here a month or two ago myself in a shared driveway. Great plan, you know, it's going to work out well. I subdivided the lot myself, you know, it's working. It's gonna put another home in a nice area, and it's gonna be built, you know, to a high degree. It's gonna add to the neighborhood, so I can't understand. And then when I read all the positives that our staff gave, you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives, and then the one shortcoming is it has less frontage than required. So the only negative is 1 meter. Like, that's not, we approve things here every month on 20 feet or 10 meters or variances left and right. These people are not asking for a whole lot. So, you know, I'd like council to really, you know, once you have the information and the board went back and you got to some time to read it, you know, I think the sober second thought to look at reality and say this would be a good fit for the street. You know, when someone comes in and says, well, there's traffic, it's going to be traffic concerns. You know, really? Like 1 or 2 cars, is that a concern? Like, that's not a sufficient concern, you know, in my belief. Like, but that's just my belief. I look at all the positives and our background of this council approving numerous developments for housing, and when it comes to an area that, you know, it's going to be built nice, it's going to be a nice house, all of a sudden we pull back and say no. I mean, if it's good enough for Sherwood, it should be good enough for Brighton. I mean, it's not in the 500 lot area. I mean, this is a nice area. So why are we not all in Charlottetown? We're all given the same exact, you know, information, you know, thought process of giving these people a chance to build a beautiful home in a nice area. I just ask the council to really think about this. This would be a good fit, I think. Thank you for your time and your explanation.
Councilor Kidd?
Okay, thank you. And I guess, Alex, I'm just going to want it on public record, a clarification that this is an as-of-right subdivided, right? Whether if you went north-south versus east-west.
Well, Your Worship, that is what, they've done all of the map on the property. They have an architect that's working with them. That's my understanding. But until staff gets a plan that clearly shows everything the way that it's configured, you know, because you need a survey to ensure that the other building, the main building on there, is going to be set back an appropriate amount. But that is my understanding that they can do it. But again, until I see like a survey plan and can to make those assessments, can't say definitively. But that's what's being projected, that they can do it without.
So Aaron Stanford, he's an architect, right? He did
Aaron's
the design here. So we got the drawings here.
Right, and you have the drawings, but you know, they are working with a surveyor on, you know, you need a surveyor to work on the lot.
Go ahead, Councilor.
But it was indicated in planning board that it wasn't as-of-right. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I actually voted against it in planning board because then we had a resident come in and provide a whole bunch of information of why it wasn't correct. And for me, I felt like I needed to do a little more research in order to understand what was right and what wasn't right, because it was a lot of information that night. And I am someone that will, if this is an as of right the other way, would be comfortable with a 1 meter variance for sure. But I want to make sure that this is correct.
So, Mr. Forbes, and if you want to respond to Mr. Forbes, go ahead there, Mr. Forbes.
It's my understanding the reason they don't want to go in the other direction.
North-south.
Right, because there's a garage there that they would like to retain. They also have a deck off the back of the property, and when you create that new line, when they go in that direction, it may impact that deck. That deck may need to be sort of cut down or something, but those are things that they could deal with if they were presented with them.
Councilor Cade.
Yep, there was lots of talk about a lot infill and all these different things the other night. So again, I just want to make it clear, sort of like some of the previous applications we've been faced with that we ended up in a war zone, that this is actually an as-of-right subdivided lot, that they have a right to put a house on. They have to have a variance if it goes this way, regardless if there's a shed or if there's this, but if they have an as-of-right, that's all I want to make sure before I
Yeah,
vote.
so north-south, there's no variances. East-west, there's a variance report required, correct?
A 1 meter variance.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and it is as of right to do it the other way.
Yes, okay.
That's, I just want to be clear.
That's what you're
before I
basing
vote.
your vote on.
Correct. That wasn't clear to me.
Is that clear, Mr. for
Yes,
us?
yeah, but again, I mean, we're talking about a future state, we would, you know, we'd like to have the documentation, but it's being conveyed to us, they can do it the other direction. If they think it's better, and I think it's better for the neighborhood, the way that the building is placed on Greensfield, because it's just, I think it'll line up better in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, on the decision tonight, all you need to be mindful of is that you're not deciding on the future lot, you're deciding on what they're asking for this evening, but you have to be mindful that that lot may happen, it won't be here, and it'll happen overnight, because it'll happen in the planning department. That information is provided to you in the event that you turn it down, and then a month later, somebody's building a house on that lot, because it doesn't need to come back here, that
Yeah.
one lot, if they can do it without variances.
Yeah, but they can't go on the east-west, it has to go the north-south, as of right.
It's the north-south that they would have to do as of right, but again, you're just deliberating on what to hear this evening.
For the variance.
Right, but just be mindful of that, if you say no, that a future state, another lot could be created on that lot, you folks won't see it.
Because it meets the requirements on the plan.
And unless it needed a variance, it would have to come back here.
And this is an old neighborhood. The homes in some of those streets are 100 years plus. So it's old Charlottetown, and I think that was reflected in the presentations, correct? That these are old stately lots. Yes, Adam? Councilor Yankoff? Oh, yes, go right ahead.
I realize that we're not voting on what they can do as of right, but I just haven't heard a clear answer from Mr. Forbes of, you know, yes or no, is it as of right if it's built north-south? And that it won't be back here with another variance because they have to do something here, something there. I'm just not hearing a clear.
Well, because we don't have an application, you have to validate, a surveyor is going to go in and survey that property. And once they show us the survey plan, we will go in there and look in regard to, yes, that you're meeting the lot, standards, you're meeting the frontage, the rear, lot lines. But the other thing too is, which is in play, is that existing house on the corner. We have to find out exactly how close that is to that line of that future lot, the north-south lot, and where it is in relation to the deck. And those are things we don't know. But my understanding, they can do it. They may have to change their deck, but if they want to do it, they could potentially do it.
Is that clear, Councilor Yankoff? Because I know what you're saying. If we approve it, right? If we reject the rejection and approve what's been asked, and they come back and says, no, we need another variance. We can't back off, can we? Councilor McLeod?
I think
we're held.
I think what's being said is that with the as of right scenario, the original house that's there now, there'd be some issues with the setback to the new property line. So they might have to move their deck, whatever. With that application was to come forward, they would have to do something with their deck. And this is why they would prefer to go to east-west, leave the other home the way it is. It's great, leave it the way it is, nothing will change. There's a good buffer behind the house. To buffer from the residents behind, and then there would be a house beside, which the applicant has also said that they would make it as close to fit to the area, the surrounding as they could. But the issues, again, the two main ones were the parking of the shared driveway and the lot infill, which they didn't seem to understand, the folks, that is a policy of the planning department to moving forward, that the city fill in these lots to provide housing for people that's needed. So that's the two that really caught everybody off guard at the night of the planning meeting. So I would suggest here tonight, if you're not in favor of the rejection, then do the proper thing, or whatever you feel, and then go forward with another resolution if you feel. Or you can defer it if you would like. It's whatever the council would like to do.
Councilor Tweedy.
So as I understand it correctly, Mr. Forbes, the staff had recommended to planning board approval.
Correct.
Okay. So I think what we're looking at here is folks that have made the request for the variance, major variance, which Councilor Rivera pointed out is 3 feet. Not a huge variance compared to, as Councilor Brown pointed out in this chamber. We've appointed many variances in this chamber over the years. Folks that are making this request, they're current property owners live in this neighborhood. They live in the house. There for over 30 years. Very well-respected people. Very conscientious about the integrity, the fabric, the setting of this neighborhood. I truly believe that they'll continue to communicate with the neighborhood. And I believe that the home that they're going to construct will fit in consistently with the other homes in the neighborhood. They're going to maintain that integrity. In terms of trees, all the trees are going to stay up, except for, I think, maybe one, and they're going to do everything they can to avoid taking that one down. So I feel quite comfortable that the neighborhood of Greenfield, in the final analysis, will be very pleased with what the commitment that these two individuals have made and continue to make. Again, I want to reiterate, they're very conscientious about neighborhood. They've talked to people that are adjacent to them, lifelong friends. So I have no hesitation whatsoever in supporting this development, considering the fact that they're the ones that are doing the development and they're there. So a lot of respect for these two individuals, and I'll be supporting their proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy from Ward 3.
Thank you, Worship. I will be supporting the rejection, approving the rejection, for the mere fact, there's two circumstances here. These folks, the fine folks, I know that as well, I've known them for a very long time. They want to put two homes on their lot. They can do it legally with no variance, or they can do it another way, which requires a variance. If their application is rejected, they have an avenue, two avenues actually. They can do it the legal way and everything settles out. Or they can continue with what they applied for and go to IRAC. So they have two avenues of redress. So I think it's a more common sense approach. The neighbors down there are quite upset. I understand why. It's just the way things unfolded, and they're long term, and so are the people that are applying. They're long-term residents down there, and they contribute to this community. Both sides, the people on both sides of the issue, contribute to this community in a very heavy way. So I will be supporting the rejection, realizing there's other opportunities for the party.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Verne. Councillor Brown.
Just quick follow-up, if I may ask.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alice, did you say that we don't have a survey plan? You guys don't have a survey plan at planning? Did you say that?
No, we have a survey plan. We're kind of conflating two things. They're asking for the 30-foot variance.
Yes.
And they're indicating to us that if that doesn't happen, they're going to, I don't know whether they're going to, but they're indicating that they can subdivide it in that north-south direction. Since they're not applying for that north-south direction lot, we don't have that lot configuration. There's a lot of detailed, measurements that you need to see in regard to that new lot line in relation to the existing house in the corner. But that's what I'm told, and I'm pretty confident that they can do that. But I can't tell you that until I verify what they will end up doing. I'm pretty confident they have a large deck on the back. They can remove the deck. They can pull the deck back. But again, that survey on the future lot, if they go in that direction, we would look at that. So the existing lot is proposed, and it's 3-foot short frontage.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship, just to follow up here. Now, just to clarify, this is not an undersized lot, right? So it's, I think it is here, the newly created lot and the existing lot are both 50% larger than the minimum lot requirements. So this is not an undersized lot, and that's why you were so adamant with all these good points of interest that, it was approved by your department. When you look at this, they're looking to keep the structure of the neighborhood, right? They want to build it next door to keep a house. If they go north to south, it's going to kind of misconstrue the area there, right? They want to do it the right way. They want to do it in line. you know, with all due respect, Councillor Duffy, I feel that, you know, some of your residents are upset, but welcome to our world. You know, with all the new development going on in Ward 6, you know, our residents were upset. This is not a major development. It's a very minor development, one house, no traffic. You know, the parking issue, our staff are quite adamant that, you know, shared driveway is sufficient. You know, all these good points. You know, we're in one Charlottetown now, and we should be jumping at this to have a nice infill, because that's what the planning department is to do with large lots, is to put a nice house in there. That's the mandate of us here, and that's what's been going on for the last 2 or 3 years with the housing crisis. So now to sit here and say, well, no, we can't do it because it's in your area, you know, it's kind of a total flip of where we're going as a council in the city. Let's build some houses, let these people build a nice house right next door and get on with this. With all due respect, thank you very much.
Councillor Duffy, do you want to follow
Thank
up?
you, Your Worship. The only thing I have to add is that you can do the infilling, you can have 2 houses on this tract of land legally, without a variance. The people that applied decided to go the other way, and that's why they need the variance. It's their decision that has caused them to need a variance. If they would do it the north-south route, there'd be no variance. We wouldn't be here tonight.
It'd be done through the department.
Thank you.
Okay, question? Question called, Councillor McCabe? Okay, this is to reject. Okay, all those in favor of the rejection, please put up your hand. So it's Councillors Duffy and Yankoff in favor of the rejection, okay? Those against, please raise your hand. So it's Councillors McLeod, are you against it, Councillor McLeod, the rejection? Councillor against it. Tweel, Councillor Reverd, Councillor Duran, Councillor Ramsey, Councillor McCabe, and Deputy Mayor? Okay, so it's 6-2. And those, now we need another resolution to approve.
Your Worship,
Can you just read it over, please?
moved by,
6-2 is 8, we're only missing 1 council.
Yeah, 7-2, excuse me. 7-2 is,
good math.
I'm thinking of 8.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor McCabe, that the request for a lot frontage variance from 18 meters to 17 meters at 25 Greenfield Avenue, PID 352971, in order to subdivide the existing oversized corner lot into 2 lots laid out in the east-west axis direction to maintain the east-west lot configuration of surrounding properties be approved, Your Worship.
No discussion required? Questions called? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So do you want me to read them out there, please? Okay. So 7. And those against, please raise your hand. 7-2. That adds up.
That's a little better. Didn't have to take your shoes off this time, right? Count.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor McCabe, that the request for a major variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from the established 1.14 meters to approximately 0.51 meters in order to allow an addition of approximately 128 square feet to the existing single detached dwelling at 298 Houston Street, PID 347047 be approved.
Questions called?
Questions called, right? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Tracy? 9-0.
Your Worship,
Just 1 second, I think Councillor
Rivard has to make
has to remove himself. Thank you, Councillor Rivard.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor McCabe, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from medium density residential to low density residential for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, and recreational to low density residential for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514. and amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from low-density residential R2S to the narrow single detached residential R1N for a portion of the subject property at McLean Road, PID 684514, and medium-density mixed-use residential, MUR, to a narrow single detached residential R1N zone for a portion of the subject property at McMahon's Road, PID 684514. Medium-density mixed-use residential, MUR, to the low-density residential, single R2S, for a portion of the subject property at McMahon's Road, PID 684514. Medium-density mixed-use residential, MUR, to medium-density residential and townhouse R3T, for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514. Medium-density residential townhouse R3T to the narrow single detached residential R1N for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, in order to allow the subdivision of 91 residential lots to be approved.
Question?
Just more comment, and it's great, again, we're not talking about one, we're talking about 91, and it's just to get on record again that there's an awful lot of tax dollars being generated out in East Royalty, and it's time that we start to see some infrastructure being placed in there with this increased traffic and homes and families that are going to be in our area. And he's laughing in the corner, but he knows I will continually ask for infrastructure to be put in place to support the continuous development. Thank you.
Questions called?
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 7. Councillor Yanka, yea or nay? Okay, 8-0. Councillor Rivera, you're against? Sorry. 7-1.
8.
No, Councillor Rivera is out. So the math keeps changing.
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan.
Mine, sorry about that, Greg.
For-
Mr. Kelly, could you just start over again? Sorry.
Mr. Worship, sorry. Moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan for a portion of the subject property on the corner of Royalty Road and Lower Malpeck Road, PID 818856, from low-density residential to institutional, and Appendix G, the zoning map of the zoning development bylaw for a portion of the subject property on the corner of Royalty Road and Lower Malpeck Road, PID 818856, from single detached residential R1L zone to the institutional I zone, and single detached residential R1L zone to the low density residential R2 zones, be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Questions called?
Questions called. So it's just a public consultation. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Councillor Twill, yea or nay? Nay? 8-1.
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request for a site-specific amendment to the institutional I zone in order to prevent the construction of a 30-unit senior social housing apartment development at Beach Grove Road, PID 1131820, be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Question. Question, you can have a question there, sir. It's a public consultation. Go right ahead.
Yeah. What's it currently zoned as now?
It's zoned institutional.
It's owned institutional?
Correct, yep.
So why not go to a vote?
Because the institutional zone doesn't allow for a 30-unit apartment building.
What's it allowed for?
Pardon?
What's it allowed for?
There's another form of some type of social housing that's allowed in the institutional zone if there's a specific care, but this one is doesn't meet the definition of what they want to do there. They just want an apartment building there. So that's why the site-specific amendment. It's close to what's in the institutional zone. Everything else around it is institutional. So they're just asking to put up the get the 30-unit seniors complex built there.
It's good news. Councillor Twill, just in the future, the chair of planning, you have to go through him first because he might be able to answer it. So could you please direct the question through him first before you go to the lawyer? Any other questions? Questions called?
Questions called?
Okay, all those in favor of going to a public consultation, please put up your hand. 9-0. Thank you.
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request to amend Appendix C, approved site-specific exemption as per section 3.11, site-specific exemptions of the zoning and development bylaw, and amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from low-density residential to commercial, in order to allow for a commercial use automotive service center to be operated on a residential property out of the accessory building at 247 Royalty Road, PID 404632, which is prohibited as a home occupation and currently not a permitted use in the single detached residential R1L zone, be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Okay, so Councilor Rivard first, and then the deputy, please. Councilor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this home is in my ward, just actually down the street from me. I totally understand planning's rationale to wanting to reject it. I would like to see it to go to at least a public meeting. I would like to hear from the residents. I have received some feedback from some of the residents, direct neighbors of this person that are in favor. I certainly would like to hear from the public before making any decision on this. So if we at least get it to that stage, it'd be great. That's all I'm asking. But I totally understand staff's rationale in wanting to reject it. But
Can you respond to that? Councilor Todd?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Councilor Rivard. I think that's where the planning committee, the exercise actually works. Staff had made a recommendation, but because that's what, the rules are there for, the bylaws. But at the same time, again, our extremes are pulled a bit. This is a fine gentleman who's been in business a long time, and unfortunately, the site that he's at is no longer going to be available, and his only option really is to be at his home. So we felt that it'd be best, even though residents are on board, the planning board felt that it is important that the residents also hear the pros and cons. You might be in favor of it, but there could be something there that might make them think twice, or it might bring them, like as you say, Councilor Bird, let's just get their opinions anyway and hear what they have to say on this issue. So I think the planning board did a great job on this one by asking to go to a public meeting. Thank you.
Deputy, you're on.
Mr. Kelly, beyond north of Arnold's Lane, is that Milton Dale? It is? Is that the separation line between Charlottetown and Milton Dale? Or Arnold's Lane?
Your worship, I do know this property is just on the periphery of the city. It's
just right on the line. Oh, okay.
On the lower Mount, you mean you were?
No, it's off the Royal Road.
Oh, okay.
So it takes you around Tim's Crane.
Yeah, okay, oh, yes.
Take down the Sleepy Hollow Road down to the jail. Okay, question was called. All those in favor of going to a public consultation, please put up your hand. 9-0. Thank you. Councillor Rivard's in conflict.
Your worship, moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor McCabe, that the requested final architectural design drawings and working site plans for Towers Road, PID 390559, 390534, and 390542, as per the Comprehensive Development Area CDA Zone requirements, section 42.2.6 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, stating that the final architectural design drawings and working site plans for the development of the property are required to be resubmitted to the planning board for council and council for review, and recommendation on the consistency with the development concept plan to be referred back to the public consultation.
Do you want to speak to first, Councillor McLeod, and Councillor Ramsey, and then Councillor Duff?
Yeah. So, thank you very much, Your Worship. Just to give a few pointers on this. The comprehensive development plan was approved, and in that approval was by the applicant pictures of what the townhouses were going to look like. A year has gone by, and the cost of things have changed, and they decided to make little exterior changes. So they came to the board, and planning staff didn't make a recommendation, and Alex can explain why. So the board had to make a decision on whether this would be considered a minor or a major change. If it's a minor, then it would be simply done in-house and we just move on. If it's major, then it would go to a public consultation again. It's because the whole question here on this particular application is, did the public really zoom in on the buildings? The developer didn't necessarily have to put a building in there. He could have left it just a square if he wanted, but you do want to kind of give people an idea of what you're doing. And so nothing's changed as far as the numbers. It's the same amount of lots, the same amount of townhouses, the same amount of everything. Only difference is he's changed the exterior of these townhouses. Most of the planning board loved the changes. If you look at what's there now and what was, it's a nice looking townhouses. But the problem with the board was, we're not the experts. We felt that it didn't go to design review. Was there any structural changes made? We didn't know. And the planning board decided that it would be a major change. And that way, it would go, at least the public would be aware, and then the developer will have the opportunity to explain his side of it as to why the changes were made, and of course we'll find out if there's any structural differences as well. And we've had, after the planning board meeting, we had a planning committee meeting, and we discussed that maybe moving forward we need to be a little more in communication with developers when it comes to these comprehensive development plans, that whatever picture you put on there, you could very well be held to. So that's when Alex today sent out the email with all those previous minutes. The purpose of that was to show council that there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on what the outer exterior of the buildings was. That wasn't really what the comprehensive plan was about. So that's what that email was today, and I could simply see easily how it confused people. But we're here to decide to, that the planning board did recommend that we go to a public meeting. And Alex, if you'd like to further anything on that I missed, feel free to do so. But I do know, moving forward, I know you were asked a lot of times, why isn't there a decision made? Why are you coming with an answer one way or the other, whether it's minor or whether it's major? Because, for people, common Joes that are, come in to be on these boards, and even councils ourselves, we're a little stunned that, how can we come up with that decision when we're not really the experts? Anyway, you can carry on from there.
So for the common people, we do have some prints here, right?
Yes, we do.
So they're on your desk. Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy.
Alex, did you want to enlighten us on anything?
So it's just when you do, it was a CDA zone, it was a concept development plan, there was a development agreement signed, and the architectural drawings for the first set of buildings on your schematics that are on your desk this evening were the ones that were attached to the development agreement. When the developer wants to proceed, because these projects are large, they come in phases. So he's coming in on the first couple of phases here. He's changed the building design to maybe referred to as a more traditional design. The issue for staff is that we've got a development agreement that show the original plans, and we have that section of the bylaw that says, subsequent to the approval of the development concept plan, the working site plan and building shall be approved on the recommendation of the planning board for each phase. So you would have commented on this anyways. Staff were pointing out to the planning board and council, there is a change here, but it's, we need to determine how significant a change is. Nothing else is changing other than the design from the first page on your plan now this evening to the second page. Staff didn't comment because there was no design requirement as a part of the CDA zone that didn't have to go to design review, and there was no criteria for staff to base that upon. Staff are indifferent. If council wishes to not to proceed to a public hearing, we'll be fine, but we need to point that out to council that these things need to be consistent. The question is it consistent? And it's up to you folks to decide whether you feel it's relatively consistent. I said out the minutes earlier today, just peruse the minutes at the public hearing. I didn't see anything in those minutes from anybody dealing with the issue of design of those buildings.
Councilor Duffy, then Councilor Ramsey. Did you?
Yeah, Your Worship,
What do you think?
I don't know, I listened to Councillor McLeod, and planning board couldn't figure out, they said they didn't have any experience with design work and what's right and what's wrong, but so they said it's a major, send it on to council. Thank you very much, man. Like, why would you make it a major if you know nothing about it versus a minor? I don't understand that. And the developer, he's the guy that, as Mr. Forbes said here, there wasn't any attention given to the exterior design the first time through. It's the developer who's going to suffer or benefit depending on, how this works out. So I would like to see them a minor because, man, we have enough public meetings as it is. I mean, it's just going to be another. Anyway, I will be voting as a minor. It's a minor.
You'll be voting against the public consultation.
Yes.
Councillor
To
Ramsey.
be gained.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor McLeod. And my question, you answered most of it too, and with the email that came out today, as Councillor Trio said too, it threw us all off. And my only question is it a minor or is it a major difference in this whole thing? If it's minor, I'm with Councillor Duffy, just let it go. But if it's a major change in this whole concept, I would like to know if it's a minor or a major, which we don't really know, I guess, at this time. Of course, sorry.
Can you answer the Councillor McCabe?
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Or did you?
No, you go ahead, Chair.
Okay. So basically, thank you, Councillor Ramsey and Councillor Duffy both. Again, the first talking about minor, major, in my opinion, if you go ahead with it being a minor and the public don't like it, then that board is going to wear it. Right? And that's not what the board really is intended for, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is a room where decisions are made. And they felt it'd be best to bring it here and let council decide whether or not it's major or not. Because, at the end of the day, we are the ones that make the decisions in this room. And, and then you gotta ask yourself, does the public have enough information? That's the other side of the fence as to why, I'm sure there'll be somebody who knows the difference and they'll say why. And, staff couldn't give us an answer, council went ahead with whatever planning board said. Well, planning board had trouble with saying yes or no to whether it was minor or major. So that was the reason. And as far as Councillor Ramsey, again, we all love it, but I think if the developer was able to explain to us in their words to everybody here tonight, it would probably make our decision a little easier. And I think that's the other reason why the board decided to go with it being a major, that at least to the public and the council will get to hear from the developer on why the changes were made from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Councillor Duffy, do you want to respond? Because Councillor
Just
McCabe.
quickly.
Yeah.
Just quick. As Mr. Forbes indicated, the first go-around on this project, the design, the exterior design was hardly even mentioned.
Right.
So one have to say it's a minor. I mean, if it was a major, it'd be all over the place. So that's what I base it on. And the fact that the developer didn't bring it to the fore, I don't see it as a major change to the whole thing, because it would, as Mr. Forbes said, you said correctly, right, Mr. Forbes, that it wasn't a big deal on the first go-around.
Yeah, I guess it is a tricky thing, Your Worship, because it could have been a big deal on another application. That's why these things loop back, and that's why, and again, these contracts are put together. The development agreement is a contract between you folks, the public, and all the rules and regulations. So it's in that contract. And if you folks give us some clarity, we can go either way with it.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. I think it's important to note, in planning board, there was no recommendation from staff either way.
That's right here, number.
And we had a lot of discussion after we had already been meeting for 3 hours and 45 minutes about whether or not this was a different concept or a design. We had architects in the room that would say, yeah, this is different. I don't have any idea if this is different or not. We know that this is a contentious application. We know if we do go to public consultation, we risk opening up the door on more than just concept design, but that's up to us and our planning staff to make sure that it's very clear for the residents that they know we're not looking at the application.
It's just
We're looking at the
change
concept design. Not one person on our planning committee felt confident to say, there's no change, because there is.
And as you said, the staff recommendation on page A2 and A, not available. Councilor McLeod.
Thank you very much. And to kind of, I guess, answer Councilor Duffy's question again, like, if it was just some siding changes that went from wood clad to or metal, to me, that's mine, right? But if you look and compare each of the 4 pictures to the picture on the other side, you'll see that there's a lot more pitches, a lot more eaves, right? The trim, the different, like, you know, soffit changes, you know, there's much, like, you know, in the first picture, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 protruding out. That's picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 have protruded out. So each picture, you know, if you compare them, board said, you know what, we don't know if this is really major or not. And that's where they, you know, that was the, and because this picture here is, you know, and I, like I first started off by saying, we need to have more communication moving forward on these files of comprehensive area development, that the developer understands that whatever you put on this picture, you know, you've got to stay really close, because if not, you're going back to a public meeting. If that process would have happened, then maybe, you know, these pictures might have come out instead of the other ones, or who knows, but there was a little bit, we need better, a little more communication on these, so that we're not here doing what we're doing here tonight. So, at the end of the day, that's the decision made by the committee, was to go to a public meeting. Thank you.
So, Your Worship, could we have Mr. Banks in to speak to the topic?
Is he here?
No. You know,
Well, he would come.
He'd come to speak to council and tell us all about it.
Well, but again, I'm going back to the Planning and Development Committee meeting last Friday. There's no recommendation. I think Councilor Yankoff said, what's the recommendation? No recommendation, so it was made to
But I guess
to go to the public. Are you making a recommendation?
Well, the issue though is that we put these contracts together at the direction of you folks.
Yes.
The contract isn't with staff. It wasn't, it's, you know, like, if I said it was okay, or one of the staff said it's okay, that's fine. But the fact is, you have a contract with the public, not with staff. That's why staff are, you know, we can go either way. But the recommendation from staff is not based on a requirement in the zoning bylaw, other than they needed to provide elevations, which they did, which we entrenched in the agreement. And it's up to you folks if you want to either just say that's fine. During the review, from my point of view, if I were in your shoes, I would look back at the public hearing, because in some of these cases, design is a very sensitive issue, and a deviation from that design could be problematic. But again, when you're here deliberating tonight, you can think back to that public hearing, and if design wasn't strong, you could try to make the determination based upon that.
Tonight, design is the issue. It's a live stream, so everybody knows about it.
Right.
So, question?
Questions called?
Questions called? Okay, all those in favor?
Can I just interrupt?
Do you want to interrupt? Go right ahead.
Just want to clarify something Julie had said there too, and that is,
Councilor McCabe said? Yes.
Sorry. We're spending so much time with family. Just to be clear too, like that everyone understands here tonight that's listening and in this room, that we're going back to clarify this issue.
Just this issue.
Not to go back
No.
over the comprehensive.
Just
area
the design
design.
issue.
And, you know,
Yeah.
the numbers aren't changing, the same amount of units, everything is the same. The only difference is, the public needs to know that
Design
that
is-
picture isn't what they're gonna see when it's built.
No.
And I think that's a pretty important thing to do.
That's about openness, transparency, and
Thank you
accountability.
very much.
Do you want to call the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
And that's your public comment.
Yes, sir. Councilor Tehran, Councilor Yankoff, Councilor Twill, Councilor Cloud, Deputy Mayor Brody, Councilor Kane, Councilor Ramsey, and against? So 7-1. Because Councilor Rivera is in conflict.
Your Worship, official plan PHOPA.1 to adopt the official.
Oh, Councilor,
No, he's out on the first one.
are you out on this too?
On the first one.
I'll be on.
McWilliams.
Oh, Williams, yeah. No,
No, we should phone in, right?
Feels like high school.
Your worship.
Go ahead,
Official
sir.
plan, PHOPA.1, to adopt the official plan amendment, PH-OPA.1-024, the land uses for a portion of the property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, as shown on Appendix A, future land use map of the city of Charlottetown. Official plan is designated as a low-density residential, hereby excluding it from its former designation of medium-density residential and recreational. Be resolved that the official plan amendment, PHOPA.1-024, as it pertains to the portions of the property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, as attached, be adopted. Moved by Councilor McLeod, seconded by Councilor Kane.
Shall it carry? Carry. Any nays? Okay, 7-1.
Your worship, zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2, to adopt bylaw PH-ZD.
Could he come in now?
No,
No,
it's second
oh,
reading.
we're second reading,
It's
sorry.
just,
I jumped ahead, sorry.
First one's the-
Yeah, that's right, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Coach.
Well, zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2, to adopt bylaw PHZD.2-048, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the low-density residential single R2S, narrow single detached residential R1N for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, medium-density mixed uses residential MUR2 narrow single detached residential R1N for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514. Medium density mixed use residential MUR2 low density residential single R2S for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514. Medium density mixed use residential MUR2 medium density residential townhouses R1 to R-3T for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, and medium density residential townhouse R3T to narrow single detached residential R1N for a portion of the subject property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514. Be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2-048, as it pertains to the portions of the property at McWilliams Road, PID 684514, as attached, be read the first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor King.
shall it carry? Contrary, Councilor Jerome, 7-1. Okay, so he can come in for the next one. Okay, Councilor Rivard, I know you're watching on TV, you might as well come in. Okay, you ready?
Your worship, whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2047, as pertains to the zoning and development bylaw amendments as attached, was read and approved the first time on July 12, 2021. Be it therefore resolved that the said bylaw be read a second time and approved. Moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor Kane.
Shall it carry?
Nope.
No, so that's 8-1.
Your worship, the zoning development bylaw PHZD.2 to adopt the bylaw PHZD.2047, a bylaw to amend the zoning development bylaw to amend sections of the zoning development bylaw PHZD.2 pertaining to sections 1.42, section 3.11, section 3.3, section 3.91, section 4.1.2, section 4.2.2, section 6.2, section 6.7, section 8.1.1, section 17, section 21, and section 45, and Appendix A. Be it therefore resolved that the said bylaw be adopted. Moved by Councilor McLeod, second by Councilor King.
Shall it carry? Contrary? So that's 8-1.
attachments.
May I be excused for a second, Your Worship?
We let them go.
Okay,
Just, that does conclude my report, Your Worship.
that concludes the report, sir.
But I'd just like to make a comment.
You sure can.
So, just so everybody knows, as chair of planning, we've seen here tonight, there's a lot of issues. When you open up your package, it's like, wow, we each have in favor, someone's in favor, someone's not. So anyway, the whole idea here, guys, is communication. Feel free to ask as many questions as you can. Feedback is good, and especially because it affects sometimes, some councils that are not on the planning board, they might have concerns or questions, and want to know what's the reason. Feel free to call. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Councillor McLeod, again, you look at the dollar values, it's 101 million in bill values up until the end of July 31st. July 31st of 2020 was 68. Like, just shows you how much building is going on.
So was planning chair ready to raise?
Yeah, checks in the mail. Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Who's next? Did you want to, okay, water and sewer, Councillor Durant.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Our Water and Sewer Utility Committee did not meet this month, but we kept in constant contact through emails. There were some issues there, so that was great. We're coming up with 2 resolutions, and our manager has kindly pointed out that, we'd like the residents of the city of Charlottetown to sign up for paperless billing, which would seem to save our corporation a lot of money. So if you could think of that, that would be awesome. So I guess we'll just leave it at that now. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can, and the 2 resolutions are coming forward.
Okay. Do you want to read those resolutions? Or any questions? Everything's going good in the corporation? How's the fiber op going? Going well?
On the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accept the tender from Summerside Chrysler Dodge in the amount of $130,860 plus applicable taxes for the supply of one 2021 3500 series crew cab chassis and one 2021 half-ton 4x4 crew cab truck, Your Worship.
Question?
I do have,
Yes, you, right ahead.
I'm just surprised, is there a reason why there was only one submission or one tender? Is there something special about Summerside that makes these trucks, or, sorry, but just
Oh, it's a good question.
Right
wondering.
ahead, and then
So we issue a tender, and unfortunately, we have seen in the past where we can sometimes just have one response. Everyone is welcome to provide a submission, and unfortunately, we just had one submission this time. There is currently a challenge with vehicles across the nation, across North America, so there is a supply crunch for vehicles. We're actually pleased that we had a response to the tender. The utility had another tender that closed last week, and there were no responses to the
Wow,
tender.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Brown, for the report. And I sit on finance too, and we have basically the same discussions. But is there a time limit to get these 2 vehicles? Did the dealership give you a time limit? And if they don't come in time, is there a fine? Or what's, so, because, I'm sorry, because as you said too, there's no vehicles around anywhere. You just got to drive through Charlotte, and all the lots are empty for half-ton trucks and 3/4-ton trucks. I was just wondering if there's a penalty for every day that you do not receive it.
So our tenders do include that penalty, but we also have options to not exercise that if there are extenuating circumstances, which would likely be the case.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the timeline? 240 days? Are you waiting for 240 days?
I believe 60 days, but it's actually the utility piggybacking with Public Works on this tender. So we went out as a city corporation for vehicles. Public Works, you'll see, I believe, a resolution tonight for 10 vehicles. No, not coming forward.
23rd.
Okay. Questions called?
Questions called first, Richard. That's why.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. Next one, sir.
Your worship, moved by Councilor Drawn, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tweel, whereas the City of Charlottetown, Councilor Tweel, whereas the City of Charlottetown passed a policy resolution of April 10th, 2000, that the City Council confirm its policy not to entertain applications for water service to properties outside the municipal boundary of the City of Charlottetown without first receiving approval from the City Council to do so. And that City Council approves the request for services received from Mark Lindsell. The request is for the water service to 345 Rafter Point Road, PID 994798. And further, that the costs associated with the development or any future services will be paid by the property owner, as well as services will be billed with a 25% premium as a surcharge for services provided outside the City of Charlottetown municipal boundary.
Councilor Ramsey.
Your worship. Thank you again, Councilor John. Did we not pass something like this in the past, saying that from outside our city boundaries and all that, and if they were going to use it, they were going to be charged this? So,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going at it again?
It's
And we have to do it for every developer?
It's a new client, correct?
Okay. I'm going to learn.
Councilor Duran, is that right? It's-
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
That's
Councilor.
right. No problem. And it says right there that, it's so it says, whereas the City of Charlotte passed a policy in April 10, 2000, confirm its policy not to entertain applications for water to properties outside the municipal boundary without first receiving approval from City Council to do so. So every developer that wants it, it has to come here, so we have to approve it. That's the whole idea of that policy.
Okay, so one blanket doesn't cover the whole thing?
No. Every developer that comes forward has to come here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't know who you ask.
Question?
Questions called, sir?
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 9-0. Is that it, Councilor Drawn? Thank you, Richard. I was just told, Mr. Adams, I was just told that Mr. Frank Quinn, he has to leave. Could you just, there's not, Councilor Yankoff, sorry to put you in a position like this. There's not much to the report, is there?
For Parks and Rec, you mean?
It's Parks and Rec. You're all right with that? I was just told that he has to leave, so we're making accommodations. Could you please present the report? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. The Parks and Recreation Leisure Activity Committee did not meet this month, so therefore there are no minutes in your package. The Seniors Engagement Committee met on July the 8th, and a draft copy of those minutes are included. There are 2 resolutions from the department, and I will do my best to answer any question on behalf of Chair Bernard.
Thank you. Okay,
Your worship.
first one, sir, Parks and Recreation, number 1.
Moved by Councilor Yankoff, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown accepts a bid of $44,264 for applicable taxes from Island Coastal Services Limited for Centennial Park Pathway Phase 3, and that the amount of $8,000 plus applicable taxes from CBCL Associates Limited for engineering and professional services be accepted, Worship.
Okay, Councilor Tweel, question on the resolution.
Thank you for your report. I do have a question for the manager of Parks and Rec. Will this complete now project of widening all those pathways so they're consistent throughout the Centennial Park, consistent with what we've done down in Queen Elizabeth Park, have that width, so it makes it easier for snow clearing and it will be done properly, so that people will be able to enjoy this venue 365 days a year.
Your Worship, yes, it's the phase 3 will actually, this will be the main part up the center that will be finished. There is still 2 narrow pathways that winds through the trees on the sides that is not recommended to be done because it would impact the trees. But this will finish up the center part and actually make that part where there's the stairs, make an accessible ramp that will go around that, so that if you had a wheelchair or, or a baby carriage or whatever, you could wheel it up through.
And it is clearly explained in your
Yes, I believe so.
1.8 meters will be the width?
That is correct.
Okay. Councilor Twill, it's on the back side of the
So
the resolution.
As you said, you're not anticipating recommending doing the pathways along the outside of the Centennial Park?
Yes, correct. They wind through trees, so to actually do those would mean we'd have to remove trees or damage trees, and that's something we don't want to do for mature growth trees in Centennial Park. This makes the actual square X to X up the center and the top that you can walk straight through and you walk around and get around. Just the other 2 ones that are more or less sort of leisurely walk paths and they're in through the trees, we're not recommending those.
Has there been any consideration, Frank, to do an active transportation pathway around the periphery of the property?
It could be the council could consider that in the future.
But it is 127 linear meters that you'll be paving, right?
This portion here is, yes.
Cool. You're all right with that, Councilor Drumm?
Well, I appreciate Councilor Twill's, recommendation and questioning. We did this at committee last year. We were hoping to get them all big circle, just like every other place, right? So, we were very disappointed that it wasn't done. This will certainly help. People are coming from the tax center, daycares, they're walking around, but they can't make the whole circle, right? And again, it was a great winter there that the snow removal came in and people were actually walking because we don't have the sidewalks in that area. So it was a big help. So maybe it's something that we can look at the committee level. And again, I appreciate your Councilor Twill, bringing that up for me. I thank you for that.
Councilor McLeod?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your report, Councilor Yankoff. Yeah, so just to add to that, not to take away from anybody else, but I have 2 or 3 parks that doesn't have a pathway around, in the middle, upside down, sideways, or upwards. So it's good to see that we are getting around to doing the parks, because there sure is a number of them in the city. The same thing happens in Macaulay. Not all the pathway gets done in the wintertime just simply because of logistics, and that for the same reason, bridge repair, damage, whatever it may be. So, but in my ward, there's 3 parks besides Frank Macaulay that has no sidewalks at all, period, and they've been around an awful long time. So something like Centennial Park, it's taken on. We're all taking these as people grow in our residential areas. These parks are becoming a real advantage to us, and I've got to say thank you very much to the Parks and Rec Department for doing such a good job. Thank you very much.
Councilor Ramsey, question?
Questions called?
Questions called. All those in favor? Should be an easy one. 9-0. Got the next one there, sir?
Ensure moved by Councilor Yankoff, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that as per the recently advertised tender for the 2021 Mulberry Park parking lot, the city of Charlottetown accepts a bid of $169,300 plus applicable taxes from Island Coastal Services Limited, and that the amount of $6,600 plus applicable taxes from CBCL Associates Limited for engineering and professional services be accepted.
Okay. There are projects here.
Questions called?
Questions called? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 9-0. That's it, Councilor Yankoff?
It is.
Thank you very much for presenting the report. Thanks, Frank.
Good night.
Okay.
There it is.
Try this again.
Chief Engineer. Mayor's here. Okay. Councilor McLeod, do you want to present the report?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Public Works and Urban Beautification Committee met on July the 22nd. Draft minutes are included in your package. The Civic Board of Persons with Disabilities met on July 14th. The draft minutes included in the regular monthly package. And just in the Civic Board of Persons with Disabilities, we had a guest speaker, Chief Randy McDonald was in, answered a lot of questions for the committee as far as disabilities go and what happened in case of a fire. And our fire department has taken, just so we all know, took a template from the York's Fire Department, where you go online, there's a form, and it's linked to our website, and you can forward it back to the fire department, and they'll know then if you have a disability, if there was a fire in your building, apartment, or single dwelling, and they would know how to, they have the equipment on site to actually take care of the fire before they even get there. So it's a real good, it was a great discussion. I want to thank the fire department and Chief Randy McDonald. And I have one resolution and do my best to answer any questions. Thank you.
Councilor Twill.
Thanks for the report, Councilor McLeod. 3 or 4 issues I'd like to bring to your attention.
Sure.
First is, I understand the tender for Harley Street is going to close tomorrow, for the major work that's going to be completed on that particular street. I've been hearing from the residents, a commitment was made that the work was going to be started, completed in July. That didn't happen. I wonder if we could expedite the process in terms of once the tender closes tomorrow, that the committees, Public Works, Finance, could maybe do a phone call, because we have good weather now, instead of waiting for another 3 or 4 weeks. And that council approved that ASP, because the residents have waited, not just because of the fire last year, but this work was supposed to be completed a number of years ago. And they're very frustrated. Again, they thought the work was going to be started complete in July. And at this rate now, we're into September. So wondering if we could expedite, so tender closes tomorrow, and maybe do a phone call or email or whatever you want to do it, so we can get that job started, whoever's going to, whatever Public Works decides.
Councilor McLeod, he's got a few questions. Can he ask?
Okay.
Just group them.
That's the first one.
Okay.
The second one was, as you recall, 3 or 4 months ago, residents have went to the media regarding the safety hazards on the north side of Allen Street, particularly in front of the upstreet breweries. I asked if Public Works would look at that, come up with a conceptual design, see what we can do. There's no sidewalk on that side. Maybe that could be an active transportation, I'm not sure. But want to do what we can do when it comes to infrastructure to make that side of Allen Street a lot safer than it is now. It's, there's a lot of traffic. You have Most Wanted, a number of businesses, so people are crossing Allen and Walton Drive, going to that side of the street. There is a sidewalk there, so he says. So hopefully we can see some
Engineers listening.
some design on paper, and hopefully we can get some work done in that regard. I'm a strong proponent for the active transportation on Towers Road. I did have a chance to talk with our manager. The residents, once again, are very anxious because of the amount of people that are living in the Sherwood area, particularly in the new development, that feel it's totally unsafe as it stands right now. They certainly welcome that opportunity to have that 8-foot venue there, so that it's safe for cyclists, walkers, joggers. We'll get people with mobility challenges. It's well documented. The need is there, the demand is there. So hoping that we can move that as soon as possible.
Is that it? I thought you had 4.
Oh yeah, the fourth one was Passmore Street.
What is it?
Sidewalks in Passmore Street. Again, I had a chance to discuss with our manager of Public Works, residents. As I said during the budget, Abe said, you know what, we're going to get hit with a liability. We're going to get the liability issue because of the how dangerous those sidewalks are on Passmore Street. I welcome anyone in this chamber to have a look at the sidewalks. They're slanted, they're unsafe. It'd be nice to see if we could move that project forward as well.
Yeah, I'd like it every other day, but I have the questions here.
Yeah, I'm good. No,
Good.
So,
Harley Street?
Harley Street, I think what's got to be done first here, I guess, Councilor Field, thanks for your question, is that the tender has to be closed, and then there is a
situation.
Communication between the finance department and Public Works, and then we'll move forward from there. I understand your concern there, and I think the engineer might want to add a little more to it, but because there are sometimes things that we're not quite aware of that the engineers do know. And as far as Towers Road, again, it's taken a bit of time for him to you know, we're trying to come up with a solution to a problem that's been existing. But at the same time, we have to stay fast to what we decided, and that was that, you know, we didn't want to spend 1.2 million to have it all tore up. So, but I think Scott does have a solution to that, and I'll let him answer on that as well. And
Allen Street, north
Allen
side.
Street, again, unfortunately, you see nothing getting done, but there is work being done behind the scenes. That's a major throughway, and the whole street is being looked at from the roundabout at the road all the way back into the avenue, the police stuff. You know, so when we go to do it, it's got to have, like you say, a multi-purpose path. You know, but the quick fix for me, I think we need to we could see some lighting change maybe there at the where Walton Drive is for sure. Some fresh paint on a regular basis there. It'd help with the folks who want cutting across until we can get that engineering study completed and done. You know, we've had a couple of extra engineers on board. Now that's got finished, but I think we're getting there. But unfortunately, it takes a lot of time. But your concerns are met. What was my last?
Towers Road and then Passmore Street.
Passmore. Again, I'll let Scott answer that because I wasn't privy to the conversation that you and Scott had. Thank
Towers
you very much
Road.
for your question.
Towers Road. Did you
And I
answer?
had mentioned Towers Road that we're looking at a design to do a quick fix on Towers Road. So it's a little same.
So do you want to
But
yield to
he can
the
still
chief
yeah.
engineer? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have those questions down, chief engineer?
I do. So Harley Street closes actually now Thursday.
Thursday.
We have 2 tenders closing that day. So once we get the package, it's reviewed by myself and the consulting engineers to make sure it's a complete package. The pricing makes sense. And then, of course, we do try to expedite it. I think our next meeting is the 23rd of for council.
Correct.
So the goal would be to try to get it on that agenda for approval. In regards to Towers Road, yes, so we do have a plan of putting up what we call a flexi post along the side of the road on either side but what it does, it gives a narrowing effect on the drivers. It will help them slow down, and it gives them a buffer between where the pedestrian walks and the vehicles. So it gives a bit of a buffer. So same thing, the same posts that are in front of the pool in front of in Victoria Park. We're going to use those for the time being. So we have those on order, waiting for those to come in. In terms of Allen Street, again, yes, so we have a number of requests in right at the moment for pedestrian crossings, so they're trying to deal with them as quickly as we can get them in. Some of them require a lot of funding, which we don't have this year. Maybe we need to install pedestrian crossing signals, so we are reviewing them. Things that we can do this year, we're trying to accomplish before the year's out. If they require additional funding, we will be bringing them back forward at the time budget season, which is really just around the corner for us. And I believe the last...
Sidewalk and Passmore Street,
Passmore
north
Street,
side.
thank you. So Passmore Street, we have done an inspection on it. It is in not in the best shape. It is slated for replacement, so we have a plan for completely overhauling Passmore Street, which we'll be bringing forward at the capital budget time for entire replacement for next year. Crews have done some milling and toe catchers and all that along those areas. But we'll double check, make sure our staff have done that, and try to do everything we can to make it safe until we get there next year.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you very much for your report, Councillor McLeod. I just have to say, this is terrific news that you're even considering the sidewalk construction master plan.
Thank you.
I applaud, you as the chair and the manager here.
Chief.
We don't have to sit here and say, okay, we need 156 million to do them all, but let's get on a plan. Like, I've been here 7 years, and I've been asking for different roads, and we get, no, this one fell apart, we gotta do this one, and you go back to your residents, and I'm sure we're all in the same boat. You have to tell them, well, I put it in, but they don't have any money. And it's just like, well, what's wrong with you, And I'm sorry, but, if we can look at this and adopt it with council or your committee and get on a plan that we're gonna do this road in 5 years or 4 years, at least it gives residents an idea that, wow, at least it's coming, right? So, I applaud your committee and your manager for doing that. It's very, very needed. so thank you.
And Councillor Duffy, to me, talked about why do we need 2 sidewalks on both sides, like on North River Road? Let's stretch our sidewalks as far as we can throughout the city. Maybe start one side, then you come back to the second side. Councillor McLeod.
Good, thank you very
Did you
much,
want to-
Councilor John, for your question or your compliment. I think the Public Works Department's been hearing that for quite a while now, right? We're all in the same boat. And I think the first step in which Scott Adams has done is to bring awareness of how much sidewalks we actually have in the city and how much is left to be done. That way, the public then has an idea as well, just exactly how big of an undertaking this is and why we've been, oh, wow, we gotta get that done. You know, we're always doing crisis management instead of getting ahead of it. So this is the process, and when he gets a schedule all done up as to, you know, to get the ball rolling as to where we go from here, the council will approve, and then we go forward. But yes, it's the best news in a while, and I want to applaud Scott and his staff because he's been listening, and I'm sure it's been frustrating at his end as well, trying to juggle that around and trying to figure out, you know, it's almost like the paving, right? We need to look at it and say what's good for each community, what needs to be done, what needs to be done first. And so again, thank you for your comments, and thank you, Scott Adams.
147 kilometers are in now, and we're looking at 156. We'll have sidewalks everywhere. Councillor Tweedy, your second question, and if you're asking the engineer, you have to go through the chair first.
Go through the chair.
Yeah.
Scott?
No, the chair. He can answer or he'll defer.
Okay.
You don't want to speak to Mr.
Is that all right?
You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott, so the final product on Towers Road will be the 8 width,
8 foot.
8 feet, right? So consistent with all the other active transportation venues and facilities in this city. That's the standard, that's the gold standard.
That's correct.
And that's what that's gonna be the final product. What you're talking about is internal, right?
That's correct.
I just wanted to get that
It's
on the record.
That's on the record.
That's on the record, but we're talking the final product.
Correct.
Down the road.
Great, okay.
Down Towers Road. Down the road, down Towers Road. Councillor Duffy.
Separated from the vehicle traffic.
Yes,
Right?
that's correct. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's raised.
Segregated from the vehicle traffic. Great, thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Your Worship. We've listened for 2 years about this Towers Road thing, eh? Every, even winter, summer, spring, fall, doesn't matter. But I asked staff after the last monthly meeting, I said to staff, I don't remember us ever approving, the city council ever approving Towers Road for an active transportation path. So staff looked, we never approved an active transportation path for Towers Road. There's no resolution stating that. So this has been going on for 2 years. Lots of talk, lots of roaring and screaming and hooting and hollering. No resolution.
No, we're not going there. No, we're not going there. We've always, we're moving on. Thank you. And Councillor McLeod, you know what? I commend the chief engineer for trying to look at an interim solution on Towers Road. And he's looking at something that's going to work for the time being, and down the road, Towers Road, we'll be looking at something differently. Okay. Yeah, another resolution?
There's one.
Oh, good, number 1, didn't get to that. Okay.
Moved by Councillor Cloud, second by Councillor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the press proposal on engineering services for St. Peter's Road and Belvedere Avenue roundabout, the submission of Harborside in the amount of $58,985 plus all approved taxes be accepted, Your Worship.
Question on the resolution, Councillor Tweedy.
Thank you. Councilor McLeod, one of the challenges over the last number of years is the acquisition of commercial property in and around where the proposed roundabout is going to be constructed. So has all of the property been acquired and acquired so that the idea of doing the engineering work and then the actual construction. So has all the property been acquired, and what was the methodology in terms of acquiring that commercial property in where the roundabout is being proposed?
Thank you very much, Councilor Real, for your question. So, as we all know, the Belvedere St. Peter's Road roundabout's been on the agenda on and off for a number of years. Since 2010, and we've had some engineering studies done. And at the time, there was a certain amount of land that was going to be required. And over transformation of technology has changed. the transportation rules and regulations have changed. There's a good bet that what we've got done so far, and I know Councilor Bernard asked me a question of why are we going back to the well again, spending more money? But unfortunately, we never really did finish the engineering study to a point that the city never really committed to this roundabout. And that's what this is about today. I've been pushing this since I got in, and you know, for some strange reason, because we don't get approval from the other 2 levels of government, we don't go forward with it.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, you know what, we're going to get the city done here. We're going to have everything ready to go so that I can go with the mayor and intergovernmental affairs. We can go solicit our MPs and our counterparts at the province.
Spend the gas tax.
And there is gas tax money, but it'd be awful nice to have some help. But getting back to your question, we're thinking that engineering has changed to the point where it's worth spending this money again. And the acquisition of land, we might not need as much. We might need what was said originally, but we're thinking that we might need as much land. And those discussions have been ongoing since 2010 as well. And we're quite prepared to go the next step. But at this time, this study will really push us to the limit as to what it's going to cost us, how much land will be needed. Rules and regulations of transportation will deter that. And it's more than just the roundabout, right? When we talk about Bellevue Roundabout, St. Louis Road, we're talking right up as far as buns and things there. You know, you come out of the Ellis Brothers, you gotta look 9 ways. And it's, you know, we need to square those things up there a little more and have less entry points and have it safe. That's the number one thing here to remember is safe, right? Those intersections are terrible. And it's awful hard, you know, when you go to ask to get this work done, you know, well, have you guys got your work done? And we're kind of like, no, not really. So we need to get our work done first. We can't expect anyone else to help us if we don't know what we're asking for. So to your question, we're hoping that this engineering study will finally define how much actual space is needed to move forward.
And we'll get a design.
And get a design done properly and up to today's standards.
Question
And
called?
If Mr. Adams would like to add any more there, feel free.
No, you get everything.
Question called there, Councilor Ramsey?
Questions called.
Questions called. All in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. Okay, 9-0. Is that it, Mr.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you, Chief Engineer.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, sir.
Julie's ready.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Julie McCabe.
Yes.
Economic Development, Tourism,
Yep.
Events and Events Management.
So our committee has not met since the last meeting of council. The Arts Advisory Board did meet on July 27th. The open draft minutes are included. There will be one resolution for your consideration tonight. And just to provide you with a little update, our Natal Day celebration weekend was very well received, particularly the chalk art installation and pop-up giveaways. So I'd like to give special thanks to you, your worship, as well as my fellow councillors who participated in the activity around Charlottetown. So details on our last civic event of the summer, Cinema Under the Stars, is scheduled to be released next week. Nominations are now being accepted for the 2021 Charlottetown Arts and Cultural Awards in the category of Emerging Artist, Artistic Excellence, Lifetime Achievement, and Champion of the Arts. The deadline for nominations is noon on August 27th. More information can be found under our Events and Initiatives tab on the city's website. The public call for award design will also close on the 27th. Our event tracking and hosting file is getting back to some level of normalcy, and there's a lot of great news to come. Events including the Island Tide Yoga and Wellness Festival, the PEI Pride Festival, the Island Fringe Festival were all great successes. Up next is Old Home Week presents Country Days, the Gold Cup Parade Neighborhood Tour, and Art in the Open. 2 new festivals, the Iron Mike Festival and Conference and Founders Food Hall and Market Husker Fest have also been announced for this month. Plans were also recently announced for next month's PEI International Shellfish Festival as part of Fall Flavors. The City of Charlottetown is a major partner in the 2023 Canada Winter Games. As a major partner, we recently had the opportunity to participate as a whole sponsor of the 2023 Canada Winter Games Golf Tournament at Mill River Golf Course, which our team activated with branded sunglasses and chocolate giveaways. Our Economic Development Officer is currently working with Innovation PEI to deliver a presentation to approximately 150 IT companies from India who are looking at further expansion into the North American market. He has also recently toured Charlottetown Airport, surrounding land open for development. Information obtained during this tour will be used moving forward when engaging with prospective businesses. Any questions? I'll do my best to answer.
Oh, report. Great report.
Your Worship, one
One
resolution.
resolution, want to read, sir?
Yes, moved by Councilor McCabe, second by Councilor Ramsey, that the City of Charlottetown accepts a bid of $26,430 plus applicable taxes from the Planning Partnership for the Public Art Consultation Services as outlined in the recently advertised RFP Public Art Consultant.
Questions called?
Questions called.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. That's it, Councilor
Thank you.
Kane? Thank you very much. Environment Sustainability, Councilor Twill.
Report is in your package. We have 2 resolutions for council's consideration. Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, okay.
Your Worship.
Moved
By Councilor Twill, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that all EV/PEI be awarded to the 2021 electric vehicle purchases, tender in the amount of $73,396 plus applicable taxes, and that this be expensed of the 2021-2022 capital budget tuition.
Questions called.
Questions called. All those in favor of the electric vehicle, put up your hand. 9-0. Okay.
Your Worship, moved by Councilor Twill, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the Wood Environment and Infrastructure Solutions be awarded the Transit Electrification Planning Consulting Services contract in the amount of $121,500 plus applicable taxes, and that the contingency of $20,000 plus applicable taxes be approved and used if necessary, and at the discretion of the Capital Area Transit Coordinating Committee, CATTCC, to execute the project, and further that this be expensed out of the city's 2021-2022 operational budget tuition.
Questions called.
Questions called. All those in favor, please put up your hand. 9-0.
See you.
Councilor Ramsey, strategic priorities and intergovernmental cooperation.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. We did not meet since last month. The Youth Engagement Committee met on July 15th. The minutes are in your package. There are no resolutions, but I have an answer for Councilor Twill, who asked me last month, I believe, was anybody involved with negotiations with the Outreach Center from the City Hall? And to my knowledge, nobody from City Hall has been with it. And I even met Mr. Brad Trivers one day at the sports store, and he said it was a deal with the province and the curling club. It's almost like a real estate deal, but there's nobody with the city involved in those talks. So I just want to get back to you on that.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you. So again, just to reiterate, so no elected official, no one here in senior administration were involved in any which way, shape, or form with discussions that look at new locations and the potential of the location of the Charlottetown Curling Club. So no discussions took place with no elected officials attended any meetings either with the minister, the deputy minister, or the working group. To your knowledge.
To my knowledge,
Anyone else's
Councilor-
knowledge in this chamber? Okay,
Yes.
that's my first question.
Yeah, to my
Yeah, just to
knowledge,
answer-
That's my first question.
Councilor Ramsey, just to answer that, as Councilor Twill knows, he attended the meeting last week down at the Charlottetown Curling Club.
Correct.
Along with Brad Trivers, the deputy minister.
yes.
Our representative from the city is Sergeant Chris Watts. He sits on the committee.
He's on the working group.
That's the committee. Okay, so your second question.
So again, no elected officials?
No.
Okay.
No.
No elected, okay, that's great.
I mean, to my knowledge,
That's fine, that's fine. Now, my second question I want to bring up is regarding the proposed annexation of Marshfield. As you know, we passed a resolution here last month.
Correct.
With council, moving a resolution onto the Island Regulatory Appeals Commission to forward that on. Now, since the resolution was passed, some residents in the Marshfield area were, I don't know if the word is disappointed, bewildered, kind of taken back, surprised. The information I think that we have here is that the majority of the residents in the Marshfield area are in favor of the proposed annexation of Marshfield, the city of Charlottetown. The information I received, the people that contacted me, said that information and what might have voted council to voting on that resolution, which I didn't vote on, didn't vote for, saying that information is not accurate. So now having said that, I just wondered, is there a possibility for a reconsideration? Or maybe city council going out and meeting with the residents in Marshfield to make sure that we get all the information, all the accurate information. I do know that because I asked a question last month, that Mr. Kelly met with some of the residents, but 3 councillors met with the developer. I'm not sure how that process works. There's Councillor Duffy, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bernard met with the developer, but no elected officials met with the residents. So I'm not sure how that works. So maybe we have a solicitor here. Is there a reconsideration?
No, hold on.
Is there a reconsideration process?
No, ask your question.
So
What's the question?
number one, I think that we should go back to the public.
Yeah.
Right, to make sure that we get all the information. Because the information I have is that the majority of the residents in the Marshfield area are not on side. Not on side with that development. And further to that, is there a reconsideration mechanism in place so that they could apply for that or petition city council to having that their information come forward so we can reconsider it?
Councillor Brandt, do you want to yield to the lawyer?
Well, but anyway, the information that was fed to us was that there's, I believe, 8 properties, Mr. Kelly, and 7 were in favor, and 1 was against it. And that gentleman does not live here, but he still owns the property.
Lives in Toronto.
He lives in Toronto, and at the same time, I don't know why people would not phone the councillors for that area, why they keep phoning you on these issues, or phoning me as chair of this committee, and I would try and get the answers. I don't know why. Why do you think you have to speak for everybody? But that's how the world's working right now. And Mr. Kelly, if you like to add any more to that?
No, Councillor Creel, just listen.
Just to clarify yourself, in the report, it did clearly state that the majority of the residents are opposed to this annexation. But out of the properties involved, the majority of the property owners involved with this annexation are in favor to move forward. But the majority of the residents in the area, as was in the report, are opposed, but it came to council. And again, out of those residents who own land, the majority were in favor. That was also clear in the report. So on that basis is what council made their decision on. We have been working with the legal folks. We are preparing the application to IRAC. We've spoken to IRAC just briefly that it is in the 10th day. We'll have the hearing in the fall, and the public will have a chance to bring their perspective. But everything you had, Councillor, was up front, and you have all the information in the reports.
Nothing was hidden. Okay, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Duffy, did you have your hand up? Yes. And then Councillor McLeod, you have to go. Are you leaving because of?
No, just use washing.
I just want to clarify when someone says that I met with developers, like it was some
Conspiracy?
secret meeting.
Yeah.
They came in to inform us of what they would like to do eventually if this was to go through. So I want to make that very clear, that there was no secret meeting. Councillor Duffy, I believe, Councillor Bernard for the area as well as me for the area, they were just explaining. There was no secret meeting, there was no conspiracy, but I just want that clear.
And just for the record, Mr. Kelly can tell you that I attended a public meeting out at the York Hall, I think May 16th. The developers were there. There were no background deals made by Philip Brown, City Hall, nothing like that. Just want to clarify that. And what took place was it was an information session, Mr. Kelly, and the developers or the property owners were there, and they did explain that this is led by them, not led by the city of Charlottetown. Councilor McLeod?
Go on with that.
Councilor Duffy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up, Councillor Twill, on Councillor Ramsey's committee, on the issue of the outreach center.
Yes.
I remember I had remembered you made the comment, so I went to the verbatim and got exactly what the question was a month ago.
Yes.
And I'll just read one little small paragraph, and this was, Councillor Twill, this is what you said. My question for you, sir, addressing the chair, is who is involved from the city of Charlottetown with discussions with the province to support relocating the outreach center from Smith Lodge down Weymouth Street to the Charlottetown Curling Club? And I would like to have a copy of the minutes, who attended these meetings, the correspondences, and who was directly involved. I know when the announcement was made, former chair of Planning and Heritage, Mike Duffy, made a comment, he was all in favor of the relocation, as well as Councillor Yankoff. That would lead a person to think that I was involved in some sort of negotiations or discussions with the provincial government. What you referred to was the announcement in the paper.
That's right.
The announcement in the paper says, this is a quote that I had asked the staff to prepare or copy out of there. Your quote is as follows, they're telling me. The new location for the Community Outreach Center will provide clients with better access to the services they need, says Councillor Mike Duffy, Chair of Planning and Heritage. As Chair of the Planning and Heritage Committee, I look forward to seeing the center operating in a larger, safer venue to support the growing city population. I can see nothing in that little paragraph that I encouraged or participated in any sort of thing with the provincial government on relocating. I said the new location will provide clients with better access to the services they need. That's true. And I also said, as the Chair of Planning and Heritage Committee, I look forward to seeing the center operating in a larger, safer venue to support the growing city population. So when you say I had a little clip in the paper in your question, it wouldn't lead the average person to think that I was involved in the decision making. And I've heard some rumors up around that corner that you've told people that I was responsible, and I don't appreciate it, but I will pass it over this time. And thank you very much.
And Councillor Duffy, what was told to me by some of the neighbors is that the city was paying for the lease.
Yeah.
We are not paying for the lease.
No.
The province is paying for the lease. There were no secret meetings. Councillor Yankoff can tell you that she was taking information from down at Smith Lodge. She was involved. I don't know where this is coming from, but I am very disappointed that we're being pointed at, that the fingers are being pointed at us, mayor and council, as conspiring something. This was a deal between the Charlottetown Curling Club executive, and I was at the meeting when they assigned this executive to lease and sell the building, and the province of Prince Edward Island. The city of Charlottetown was not involved. And I really hope that people stop putting those flames out there that subject Councillor Duffy, myself, that we were part of some deal. There was no deal.
How silly it is, Your Worship.
What?
How silly it is. It's under the Department of Health. The mental health comes within. We don't look after health in this city or in this province. I mean, anybody who knows anything about jurisdiction and whatever in the 3 levels of government will pick it up right off that. When is the city of Charlottetown going to contribute to a decision being made by the provincial Department of Health, in particular the Mental Health Division?
It's mental health and social development and housing.
Exactly.
They're 2 departments.
Exactly.
Councillor Twill, can we just wrap it up?
Well, you said, Councillor Duffy, that you weren't involved, but you were in the paper, involved with the announcement, right? You were involved with the announcement. You were involved with the announcement.
Yes.
And the relocation from Weymouth Street, Smith Lodge, up to the Charlottetown Curling Club. So anyone that's reading the article would say, well, obviously the city of Charlottetown must have been involved.
No.
You weren't.
No, we weren't.
Okay, you had a comment. You were in the interview.
But I didn't understand it now.
Can I finish?
Just let him finish. Sure.
Okay, so you're in the interview,
Yeah.
right? You gave a comment. So any reasonable person would be led to believe that somehow the city of Charlottetown was involved. You said it's a bigger facility. I mean, those are your words, not my words. Those are your words.
Correct.
So you did the interview, you made the comment to go from Smith Lodge up to the Charlottetown Curling Club. Any reasonable person reading the press release would think that somehow the city of Charlottetown's involved. Anyway, so you made a comment, Councilor Lannon made a comment, so I don't know. I just read what I see in the newspaper.
Councilor
I'm
Duffy, just
referring to
respond.
only the location, the building, not the journey up Weymouth Street. And you're trying to read something in that no one with any common sense would try to do.
Yeah, that's the point that's being made.
And
You
exactly.
responding to the move.
Exactly, and let me tell you further, I didn't want to bring this up tonight, but this particular point, that press release was put together by our communications people. They asked another member of council, this council, to be connected to the blurb, and that person did not want to be, and they asked a second person, and that person said they could, but it was later decided not to. I was the third choice. And I was the choice because at the time, I was chair of Parks and Planning, which looks after the use of land in the city of Charlottetown. And the curling club is sitting on a piece of land. That's why I was asked as the third person. I wasn't looking for press or anything. But you laid the innuendo that I was involved with talks in a boardroom somewhere to cut the deal to get, and nothing could be further from the truth.
And Councilor Duffy, just to end on this, yes, Isaac McDonald asked me to respond, and I said, it should go to the chair. And I don't know if he asked another person on council, but he did ask me, and I said, belongs with the chair. And it wasn't about, we're gonna be caught. The deal's public, there was no deal.
There was no getting caught, there was nothing done.
Okay, is there a resolution?
No, there's not, Your Worship.
Oh, is that the end of the report? Good discussion. Okay, finance, audit, tendering committee, Deputy Mayor Cole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met, and the report's in your package. There are no resolutions coming from our committee this month. Last month, it was asked if we could get the quarterly statements put in the package, so you'll see this month. Those statements are in there for council to review, and if there's any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer.
Any questions about the statements? They look pretty good. Yes, sir, on the statements or on the report?
Councilor Cody, or Deputy Mayor Cody, sorry, thank you for the report. Months ago, I brought up about emergency funding and how that actually works. An opportunity, could you take that back to your committee? I'd like to know exactly how emergency funding works here in the city of Charlottetown. Who's involved with the emergency funding? Who gets to sign off on these expenditures without council approval?
We'll put it on the agenda for next week.
Thank you, sir. Let's take that over. No resolutions. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Mark, for holding on and waiting. Next time you can call in.
Take the rest of the night off.
Okay. I think it's Councilor Yankoff, Human Resources. Communication. Is Bethany online?
Bethany there, Chief?
She's on vacation this month.
She's there.
No, it's not there.
You're on your own.
Do you have somebody else from the?
I'll try to step in where I can.
Who's your pinch hitter?
The Human Resource Communications and Administrative Committee met on August 3rd. The minutes are included in your package. We do not have any resolutions this evening for your consideration. But if anyone has any questions, I will do my best to answer, or we will defer to our COA.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you for your report. Two questions for you. Can you give us an update with respect to the process of the hiring of the chief of police? And where are we at in terms of the hiring of the new deputy CAO, chief of police for the city of Charlottetown? I did make a recommendation at the last council meeting that maybe the new deputy CAO could have a legal background, which would be advantageous to the city's corporation. So I'm looking for an update on those two very important positions.
I'll give it a call first. Thank you. Both of those questions are great, Councillor Tweel. In terms of the update on the hiring of the chief of police, I believe we're in step 3, where it's down to 2, and that part, they're just waiting on the video component. Each has to give a presentation, and because one is outside of the province, it's chosen that and so is one of the people that are on the hiring committee, that they will be presenting a video versus doing the in-person step. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. And in terms of the deputy COA, we have actually made some inroads there. That is actually down to 2?
2 at this time.
2 at this time. And
That's right. I apologize, it's 4.
so there's 4 applicants, and the interviews are taking place, or
The interviews are complete, they're doing the testing as we
Testing.
speak, and then
Right.
that'll be, they go from
and so with any hope the hiring will be
Soon.
there.
Soon.
There'll be an offer going out before the end of the week.
okay. There'll be an offer going up for the
Stay tuned because it's going to be soon. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I think it's Councilor Rivard's report now.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Last night.
Oh, that?
Your last night.
Oh, here's the new chief here. New chief just arrived.
Emergency Services Committee met August 3rd. Minutes are in your package. 3 resolutions for consideration tonight. As always, any questions, comments? I'm happy to answer or just take it.
Councilor Tweel.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Barrett. I have 2 questions. One is for Fire Chief Randy McDonald. As you know, Fire Chief McDonald, we talked about over the last year and a half, about a bylaw for sprinklers. And I'm just wondering where we're at. If you can give me just a progress report on that particular issue.
Yep, Your Worship, Councilor Tweel, Council. We're working with the presentation. I'm in the report writing now phase of it, so it's coming close to being presented to the committee. Very close.
Okay. Yep. My second question, or not a question, Deputy Chief Brad McConnell, I'd like to bring up the fact that I've talked to a lot of residents throughout the city are pretty disillusioned with the drug problem on our streets. There seems to be a tremendous amount of drugs on our streets here in the city. People are taking notice, and what I'm hoping for, Deputy Chief, is that we can start to make some inroads on the drug trade. There's no secret. There's overdoses. There's people that are affected. Drugs are ruining families. They're destroying young people's lives, and it's not a good situation. So I wanted to bring that to your attention once again, and hoping that we can see some tremendous inroads here in the next, month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be. There's just too many people. I mean, drug overdoses. I mean, it's just too much.
Take that under advisement, Chief, or do you want to answer?
No, Your Worship, Councillor Tweel certainly noted, and certainly the drug issue in our city and province is always the forefront of our minds and our enforcement issues, and I'll take that back and share it with my team.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilor Duran, question, and then Councilor Yankoff.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Barrett. I did ask the deputy chief there about a speed sign. We have one on Mount Edward Road, and it's not working. It has water in it, and we were looking at the budget for next year. Is there any way we can look at any possibility of getting some emergency fund? This sign seems to keep the residents quite happy when it's working, because it helps to slow down the speed in this area. I said I'd bring it to council when I give a report that the chief has told me. Well, is there anything else you can do? I said, look, all I can do is ask the chair to see if there's any way we can get any funds to fix this sign. So,
Councilor Bird.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Duran. Yes, we'll, I'll meet with the deputy chief next few days, see if we can allocate some funds and see if we can fix that
That'd be
gray area for
awesome.
you.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Councillor Yankoff.
I have two questions.
Go right ahead.
Ask the chair, both of them at the same time.
Yep.
The crosswalk on the corner of Queen and Vic Row, because of the nature of where my other job is, I witness to many cars just zooming right through, and the people that are the pedestrians, it's really dangerous. And I'm just wondering if there's something else we can do to indicate as the traffic is going down there that there is a crosswalk there. It's super dangerous. And my second thing is corner of Hillsborough and Water. Now that the Indigenous Center is there, there's an increase of traffic going straight down. Now we have our tourists back with with COVID restrictions lifted. I'm wondering if we could create Hillsborough and Water a four-way stop versus what is there now.
Good point.
Thank you, Chair.
Good
Thank
point.
you, Councillor Yankoff. Deputy Chief, I don't know if you have the answers to those now, or we just take the information back. Maybe you can ask staff to reply to Councillor Yankoff and answer some of her questions with regards to the four-way stop. Unless staff has already reviewed that, and of course the other one's the sidewalk.
Your worship, councillors, certainly those aren't decisions we make in isolation. There's a lot of consultation. We'll have to go with Public Works to, make recommendations and provide potential solutions to those problems. But I'll certainly start the ball rolling on both of those. And
Can you follow up with Councillor Yankoff and just keep her informed all the way?
I will.
Thank you.
And she's on the Public Works Committee too. That's good. Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you. Just if you could refresh my mind, Deputy Chief, there's a crosswalk on Belvedere and Queen Street, right? You're just at the lights there when they're going to the Superstore, up in Queen, I should say. And then I got a few calls last week, when they're going to the Dallas Strip Mall there, but then they're going across to Superstore or coming from Superstore and going there because they're not walking up to the crosswalk. Is that something that we should be bringing back to our committee and see if they could put a crosswalk right where the driveway's coming to the Superstore? You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
Going over to the cannabis shop.
Yeah, they're going to the cannabis shop and but they're not walking up to the lights to go across the crosswalk. They're going to and fro both places. I had some calls on that last week, and I said I would certainly bring it up. And I talked to, and I brought it up to Public Works, and they said it's a police issue. I'd like to put a crosswalk down, and they'll let us know if it goes down there.
That's still working outside of the
Sidewalks for Public Works.
Well, not sidewalk, a crosswalk.
Yeah, but I thought there was still Public Works.
Well, I checked with Public Works, and they said the police got to sign off on it.
Okay, so can we add that to our list of things to review?
Yeah.
When we're discussing.
I mean, we don't gotta do it tomorrow. You just said that's some encouragement. It's okay.
We can add that one to the discussion.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
It's all about walking. That's great. Walking and crosswalks. Okay, resolution there.
Three, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Ramsey, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to repair or replace 2 fire escape structures of the building at 36 Rochford Street, PID 340125, and any other repairs deemed necessary by a city building inspector or city fire inspector at owner's expense, and remove any other materials or debris, clean up and or properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense on the same property noted in the accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the city of Charlottetown.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Ramsey, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any garbage or other materials or debris, clean up and then properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense at the following properties located at 21 Water Street, PID 335539, 40 Hutchison Court, PID 588301, and 247 Mount Everett Road, PID 390625, in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the city of Charlottetown.
Question? Just ask a question there.
You have a question? On
Yeah.
21 Water Street, 40 Hutchison Court, or 27
47 Mount Everett Road.
Okay.
Does the city own that now?
We own, I don't know if the numbers, council, but we do own two properties there.
Is it the little greenhouse with the grass?
Yes.
I thought we bought that, but that's not the one?
We own the two of them in that area, council.
But we don't own PIN number 390625.
But we'll get back to you,
Okay.
council.
That'd be great, thank you.
Get the PIN number there. Question?
Questions called?
All those in favor? Please raise your hand. 9-0. Thank you, sir.
Your worship, moved by Councilor Barrett, second by Councilor Ramsey, that the public works manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any garbage or other materials or debris, clean up and properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense at the following properties located at 29 to 31 Passmore Street, PID 360826, 37 to 39 Passmore Street, PID 360834, in accordance with the terms of the Danish Hazardous and Unseemly bylaw of the city of Charlotte, Your worship.
Okay.
Questions called?
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 9-0. You heard a question on that one?
Question on all, if I may.
Yeah, well, we can just wrap this one right up
Yeah,
here.
sure, thank you very much, Your Worship. So, Councilor Baird, thank you very much for the report, and because you're on finance as well, do we ever see, is there a line item somewhere where we see actually money coming back from the sale, or it's getting more and more and more every month we come here, we see outside. At some point, do we ever see anything back, and is there an item line on the revenue stream at some point that we see? Thank you.
We'll take that back to committee, both finance and to protect.
Probably falls under miscellaneous.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it, sir?
Yeah.
Look at that. 7:20.
Got a little more.
Oh, you got one more?
Council? Advisory Council.
Yeah, I know. But you're done.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilor Dankoff, Council Advisory Committee.
Want you to go home?
So the council advisory committee met July 16th, and we opened draft minutes and included in the package. We have no resolutions for your consideration, and I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everybody's arm jumped up.